Launching on September 24th, 2021, the iPhone 13 has remained a really good option, with a 6.1-inch screen dominating the front and also having a dual 12-megapixel camera on the rear with 4K 60 recording, Apple A15 Bionic chipset, in addition to that a 3240 mAh battery, and still getting all the latest and greatest iOS updates. With a lower price than the 14, it's a really good pickup here mid-2023, or is it? That's the question we're going to find out in this video. Immediately when I look at the iPhone 13 or even think about the iPhone 13, immediately comes to mind is the current A54. These are kind of phones that kind of are in the same range. The Pixel 7a, which just recently got launched as an option. And then the clone, the iPhone 14, same phone basically, slightly different CPU. This is basically what I think about. So you have the option to pick basically an iPhone 13 still. If you're going to stay with Apple, you can pay more, get an iPhone 14 with a little bit better cameras, a little bit better CPU. You can save some cash, get the Google Pixel 7a, which has similar length of updates and has some really good cameras. You can also get all the feature set that you want with a Galaxy A54, but you're probably here to see mostly just the iPhone 13. So with all those options out there, I actually still think this is a great pickup. You might want this pink color. You might want one of the color options that are available for that phone. And most of what is in this phone has been carried over to the 14, obviously. And those newer phones that just came out basically are kind of competitive. 6.1-inch screen on the Pixel 7a, dual cameras, premium builds on both, aluminum sides, plastic back on the 7a, glass on the rear. Faster charging, I believe, on the iPhone 13 and probably better resale value. So there's a lot still to be said about this phone. So let's talk about the body and the build of the iPhone 13 now. Is it something you should consider picking up? Well, yes. Look at the 14. Of course, it's something you should consider. It has the same aluminum edges, glass rears, and if you're looking for something that's redesigned, I would say absolutely not. Mid-2023, we're already at basically WWDC, and we're going to be seeing a redesign. I wouldn't say redesign, but we're going to see an upgraded look and feel to the iPhone 15. We're probably going to get the dynamic island. So if this thing bothers you, I would skip it out and just pay that extra couple $100 and get the iPhone 15 coming soon. But if that's not you, you need an iPhone now, you don't want to pay that price. Absolutely, the iPhone 13 should be right up your alley. Now, this does have IP68 dust and water resistance, and one of the things that Apple pushed about this phone is its durability. This and the iPhone 12 does have 5G on board as well, and the iPhone 13 actually is the only iPhone that has a pink color option. So if you're in the pink, they have that for you on this one. In addition to that, having the IP68 is definitely a big upgrade over, some of the cheaper phones that don't have those offerings and give you 6.1-inch screens. So do keep in mind that I do think you're getting a pretty durable piece of kit here. Even now, being 2 years, just about 2 years old, it's still really good. So design and build is on its way to looking a little bit dated with the upcoming 15. But for now, if you were to pick one up, it's still pretty good. And it's not like they're just going to drop the 14. It'll probably become cheaper. And because it looks just like the 14, you'll still have at least another year or two before this design is totally out of the lineup. So yeah, it's still good there. Now, when talking about the display of the iPhone 14, did I just say 14? See, I'm so used to the 14 being the same feeling phone that I just said the 14. Display is plenty bright on here. We're going all the way up here to around 800 nits of brightness. Outdoors, pretty legible as well. 1200 nits peak, that's pretty bright if you ask me. Also, a 460 pixel density is actually better than some competitors at this price point. Some phones don't give you such a high pixels per inch, so this one is incredibly sharp. Tack sharp have you, it's really going to be no issue with the sharpness of this panel. Now, if you're looking for the absolute best in sunlight, the higher end pros do get brighter. And this phone right here definitely doesn't have the widest screen out there, the biggest screen that's going to be reserved for like Galaxy S23 Ultra phones like that. But it's a nice size. It feels good in the hand. It's a good daily phone to use, and it still has a 19:9 aspect ratio, so it's wide enough to read articles and stuff like that without feeling squished and too narrow. on that aspect ratio. Now, the phone itself also does give you ceramic shield glass, so it's pretty durable. I still have a screen protector on, and I do recommend the case because they're not invincible. I said they're durable, not invincible. So you can still crack and break the glass on this iPhone 13 if you're not careful. Now, in terms of software, you are probably watching this after the iOS 17 launch, but this one is running 16.5, and of course, you can do the beta updates to the iOS 17 and the software settings. But, 16 has been pretty good. There was some bugs early on, but it's getting better. Still app library, still, having this app tray. But again, the new features we've seen with iOS 17 are quite nice. They will be coming to your iPhone 13 as well later this year. You can also try it out if you pick one up, if you want to run beta. That's kind of not the best idea, though, if you don't want to deal with bugs and it's your main phone. So wouldn't recommend it. But yeah, software, we have a few more years on this thing. It's only going to be 2. So you got at least 3 to 4 more years with the updates. And because the A15 stuck around for the iPhone 14, then you basically don't have no issues. So I think I said earlier we had a better chip. That's actually for the 14 Pro. That was a mistake on my part. Actually just has a little bit more RAM. This one does have 4 gigs of RAM. This one has 6 gigs of RAM. But same CPU, A15 Bionic. GPU a little bit better in the 14, just slightly better, but honestly, you're going to get a super long software support still. Even though this phone came out 2 years ago, Apple's known for this. This is a really good pickup still if you're concerned about long-term support. Now, in terms of the storage, I like that this has the option to go up to 512 gig. You don't usually see that. Well, you don't see it on all phones that come in at around $599, $699. Some of them top out at $256. So you do have a really high storage option here for even the base 13, which is pretty sweet. So if you need a lot of storage, 512 gigs should definitely be enough for most people. That's just definitely good. Now, let's talk about the battery a little bit, because the battery is something I really enjoy about the 13 as well. The phone easily makes it a full day, even with using it quite a lot. The 14 is pretty similar there as well, but they're not no 14 Plus models, and they're definitely no Pro Max models. They don't last that long, but they do get through a full day, which is pretty darn nice. And that's mostly due to the simplicity of the software, the optimizations, the really good CPU hardware optimizations on here, along with Apple tuning their software. This gives you an excellent battery life and, of course, really good standby time for the 13. So mid-2023, I'm very happy to report that even with latest updates, it's still making it a full day. No problem. Now, this phone can get warm under heavy use, and I do find that it can close applications if you have too many open at once. 4 gigs of RAM is just not a lot, but the phone definitely only has a minor hiccups here and there where it'll just crash out an application, but it's very rare and it doesn't happen often enough for it to even be something to call it a con. So definitely this phone is an easy, durable, all day, fast, it's just a good phone. Definitely. Even these newer ones coming out like the Pixel 7a, that's why I really like the Pixel 7a, because it basically has all the same traits of an iPhone 13. But if you want to try like the Google system, you're getting basically the same thing here as what you'd find on like a 13. Now, one thing I really enjoy about the 13 is the cameras. It's a simple dual 12 megapixel camera setup with really good apertures of f1.6 on the main wide lens and then f2.4 on the ultra wide. But what I really like to talk about is just how good the camera focuses on everything. This is that camera for the mainstream, for the people who don't want to do pro stuff, who don't need extra zoom, who don't care about all that jazz. This one right here is your phone. So if you just want a really good video camera, great social media photography, videography, but you're not going to that pro level, you just don't do that, you don't care about that, this phone, I'm telling you, this phone is for you. If you do action stuff, you're going to need the 14, like action mode, like you're using it like a GoPro, you're going to need the 14. But I'm pretty sure a lot of you aren't doing that. And if you're looking for, maybe a little bit better after the shot, like after the shot, they do like this little AI stuff where it makes it a little bit sharper. The 14 does a little better there as well. But in terms of just general results, day to day, the 14 and the 13 are excellent, but the 13 is easily a good 2 to 3 years before this camera even starts to look that dated. The zooming, yeah, there's a lot of phones offering ridiculous zoom, even phones like the A54. But the zooming really comes down to the user. How much are you using that zoom? If you're not using it, it's still a great camera. If you are, I would pass on this one easily. This phone also does not struggle in the area of audio. Having dual stereo speakers on this device really gives it a strong overall output and performance. It's nothing like, your highest end phones, because those definitely have something that they just got bigger. These bigger phones just give me more punch on the audio. And I do have, like the Samsung phone with its, Dolby Atmos, it punches up a little higher. But I've been pretty happy with the audio performance. And of course, being an iPhone, your ecosystem, if you have the AirPods or the AirPods Max, AirPods Pro, any of those type of phones or headphones, those really connect incredibly fast and reliable. There are times when they become disconnected and you got to press the button on the back and stuff. But overall, it's been an excellent audio experience for this phone. Now, one thing for the iPhone 13 that might be becoming outdated soon, not right now, but in the future, is this only has Wi-Fi AC, but we have 6, not the 6E connectivity. Also, Lightning. If Apple does make the switch to USB-C this year, which I do expect, but I'm not exactly certain they will, it's a high likelihood, but there's always a chance they don't, then it'll be a big deal. It might be only on the Pros. We'll have to see. But, this might start to look old once USB-C becomes widely adopted for iPhones. And of course, Bluetooth technologies and Wi-Fi technologies will be advancing on future iPhones. They're already more advanced on the newer iPhone 14 models. So if you are looking for the best 5G performance, the best everything connectivity, this is still probably pretty close to everything on the market right now. But in a couple of years, even now, it's not the fastest out there. So connectivity, very strong, but it's getting faster every year. And if you're looking for the fastest mobile performance on the go, on the move, I don't think this is the best pick. But it's definitely fine if you're just okay with really fast, but you don't care about having the absolute cutting edge of connectivity. After all, this is a smartphone. It's got to make phone calls. And I got to tell you, the signal strength has been really juicy on this phone. That basically means really good, really strong, thumbs up for that. Just a really good phone. I remember the iPhones a few years ago when you did make a phone call, sometimes it would drop, sometimes you wouldn't have signal. It was weird when we were doing that Intel stuff. Now that we have the Qualcomm stuff in here, the 5G, all that stuff is great. Again, like I just said previously, it's not the fastest 6E. It's not the fastest 5G. I've seen faster 5G on the latest S model Samsung phones, but definitely it's really good. So I'm very happy to report if you're using this phone as a phone, you don't have to worry at all about this. And also, some people might just want the iPhone 13 for its color options. We talked about them earlier, how you have the pink color, but you might like the midnight color option, the blue, pink, red, green, all these. The green specifically was exclusive to this one, but if you want yellow, you got to go with the 14. And just that could be another reason as well. But my final conclusion is this phone is definitely not worth no $800 right now. You can find this thing for $500 or less. It's an absolute decent deal. I wouldn't say it's a steal because you still got options like the Pixel 7a. You still got the Galaxy A54, Poco F5 Pro. You do have OnePlus options that are pretty close in price. I mean, there's a lot of phones these days that are really doing great when it comes to offering specs for money, but you don't get iOS. You're not getting the Apple experience. And I think this is a really solid option. You can find it around that $500 to $600 range. It's still really a great phone. However, if you were to find the 14 for around the same money, just go for this. It's going to give you a little bit better internal specifications, nothing major because it does have the same CPU, but a little bit better cameras, definitely a little bit better than the 13, but only a little bit. This is like an S model of the 13. But if you really want a great iPhone at around like that $700 range, seriously, we're almost there, 3 months away. Just wait till the 15. It will be definitely worth it. You'll have the Dynamic Island, a different experience. But if you don't care about Dynamic Island, I can tell you after having it, it's not the biggest deal in the world. But if you do want it and want to experience it, wait for the 15. But if you're looking for a phone now, $500 to $600, this is a great iPhone still. Really enjoy it. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have the 13 or had one, please consider sharing your experience with the community. It does help out people that are looking and doing their research around line to figure out if this is going to be the next phone to be the tool in their life for their daily usage. I'll catch you on the next one. Nick here. Be sure to be well and peace.